Yesse says the opening of the new 12-story Rock Hotel in downtown Kingston will further boost the area's economic potential. Speaking at the hotel's official ribbon-cutting ceremony, Mr. Yesse said having the 4-star hotel, which is part of the brand Tapestry Collection by Hilton, means, quote, more income in people's pockets. It means the return of life in downtown Kingston and more economic activity can take place, end quote. The Prime Minister praised the investors for sticking with the project and completing it despite the delays that were experienced, particularly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Development of the new hotel began in 2019 after the property, formerly the Ocean Hotel, was acquired by Pan Jam Investment Limited. ROC is an acronym for the Revival, Rebirth, Renaissance of Downtown Kingston. It was named by Executive Chairman of the Pan Jam Group, Stephen Facey. The Montego Bay Perimeter Road project will see a minimum of 90% of unskilled construction work being done by Jamaicans. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government signed a memorandum of understanding between the China Harbour Engineering Company and the Heart Trust NSDA to train and certify approximately 500 Jamaicans to provide skills such as electrical work, carpentry, equipment operation, masonry, and general construction skills on the Montego Bay Perimeter Road. The accord was signed on Saturday, July 16. The Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC's Grow Castor Bean project is set to become another avenue of income for Jamaican farmers. Interested parties can submit their applications, now available on the JBDC website. Castor oil, the byproduct of castor beans, is used primarily in the pharmaceutical industry as an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory in cosmetic applications and in the manufacture of high-grade lubricants and biodiesel fuel. On the United States market, real Jamaican castor oil has a potential to earn between 80 million and 100 million US dollars, and globally upwards of 200 million US dollars. The project seeks to target 80 farmers in St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, St. Anne, and Manchester. Applications close July 27. Assessing the labor force by occupational groups, Statins Director General Carol Coy says the largest increase in employment was recorded for service workers, shops, and market sales workers. The increase represents 18,500 persons, or a 7% increase. The Students' Loan Bureau, SLB, is continuing the push to give customers access to its services online. The SLB has announced that its customers will soon be able to check their loan balances on the SLB customer portal. Deputy Executive Director at the SLB, Charmaine Rose Anderson, says with this new service, customers can download their statement anytime at their own convenience. The SLB recently redesigned their website to include a customer portal that is meant to enable easier and efficient use of its services. The checking of loan balances is a new feature for the Strategic Transformation of End Users Experience Portal, STEEP, or Customer Portal. To use STEEP, new customers are required to sign up to create a portal account. Security features are added to ensure data privacy and protection laws are embedded in its operations. In regional news, we start in Guyana. On Tuesday, the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, heard arguments for the case about whether the Guyana Court of Appeal had the jurisdiction to hear and determine the appeal filed to challenge the dismissal of a Partnership for National Unity, APNU, election petition 99 of 2020. Suriname's president has cancelled a planned trip to Paraguay, where he was expected to participate in the Mercosur summit following protests against his government's policies. Surinamese reportedly took to the streets and first went to the National Assembly and then to the president's office as they demanded drastic changes to the government's policies or for the entire government to resign. They were planning to storm the airport to prevent the president's departure. The president, in a statement posted on his Facebook page, called on the demonstrators to unite and assemble a delegation with which he can engage in national dialogue. He told them that as president, their message is clear and he has heard and seen the discontent. In the Bahamas, Director of Labour Robert Farquharson Tuesday gave an update on the promised minimum wage hike promised by the government.
Well, Labour Director Robert Farquharson also disclosing to reporters that the National Tripartite Council has completed its recommendations for minimum wage to be increased and has formally submitted the document to the government.
Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says Barbuda is poised to become the Caribbean's marquee luxury destination. The minister is upbeat about the island's prospect for rapid economic development with more mega projects on the horizon.
The government of Antigua and Barbuda reiterates its commitment to further development here on the sister isle. Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honourable Gaston Brown, provides an update on several government initiatives launched here on the sister isle, as well as hints at several opportunities slated for Barbudans.
In news further afield, Britain's ex-finance minister Rishi Sunak again topped the latest vote by Conservative MPs to choose a new Prime Minister, as another candidate has been eliminated to leave 3 contenders in the race.
Former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch received the lowest number of votes. That leaves former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. One of them will be voted out by MPs. The winner will then be selected by Conservative Party members.
In the midst of a heatwave, the contest in there for leadership of the Conservative Party and the country is hot, hot, hot. 3 candidates still standing. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak remains the favourite. He is in the lead, 1 vote shy of being guaranteed a place in the runoff. He will almost certainly get there, and he'll do so in the unhappy knowledge of a brand new opinion poll that suggests he would lose against any one of the other candidates. That's according to Conservative Party members. Kemi Badenoch, a big figure on the right of the party, is out of the race, eliminated after scoring the fewest votes in Tuesday's ballot. That leaves Liz Truss still in the race in 3rd place. The other big figure on the right of the party, the Foreign Secretary, she's up 15 votes, showing there is momentum behind Liz Truss's campaign. And in 2nd place, the rather less well-known quantity of International Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt, perhaps the only change candidate left in the race. The big question, of course, who will get through to face Rishi Sunak between those two, Truss and Mordaunt, and will Kemi Badenoch supporters on the right file in behind Liz Truss, pushing the Foreign Secretary, the Johnsonian continuity candidate, if you like, across the line.
In sports, Jamaica's medal tally at the World Athletics Championships remains at 4 following the 5th day of competition in Eugene, Oregon. Despite a personal best from Jaheel Hyde in the 400 meters hurdles of 48.03 seconds, he finished 6th in the event behind Brazilian Alisson dos Santos in a championship record of 46.29 seconds. The American duo of Ray Benjamin and Trevor Bassett finished 2nd and 3rd. West Indies all-rounder Jason Holder believes the West Indies need to play more consistent cricket in order to improve their performance. He also notes that younger players in the team must understand what it takes to play on the international stage and the role of senior members of the squad. And that's the news.
There's a name that can silence every fear. There's a love that embraces.
When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no.
It is time for Yes with Yesse. Please welcome your host, Yesenia Leva.
Good evening, family. Good evening, new season. Good evening. The applause there. The applause there is like my favorite part. Is like, okay, thank you guys. Thanks so much. Good evening, family. Hope everyone is having an amazing evening. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I hope that your day has been absolutely awesome. Work day, and some of you guys are going to work tonight. And as we're here, so be safe out there on the road. It is tricky out there. Be safe. Good evening, everyone watching us on social media. Good evening. I see so many awesome people on tonight. Thank you so much for joining, Sister Marcia and Sister Debbie, Sister Grace, Brother Josue from Nicaragua, all the way from Nicaragua. That makes me so happy to know that New Season is just making an impact all over the world as we speak. It's amazing. Sister Laurel, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining. Sister Mina, good evening to you. Thank you guys so much for joining. Everyone there on 89.1 FM on the road. If you're at home, good evening to you. And of course, our YouTube family. You guys are the most important ones out there. We don't forget you guys. And definitely we don't forget those on 89.1, right? So thank you all so much for joining and just coming in on another episode of Yes with Yesse. And we're just here to enlighten you, to entertain you, to educate you on so many topics that often go unspoken and unheard of even sometimes, and just kind of pushed under the rug, and if Yeye is all about talking about things that people don't talk about. So I absolutely love it. And as you guys can see, I am not alone tonight. I am not alone. I am accompanied. Estoy acompañada, mi gente latina también. Buenas noches a todos ustedes. Estoy acompañada en esta noche. I'm going a little Spanish and English, Spanglish. Esto cubano, that's what we do. We do the Spanglish thing, so it's okay. So with me tonight, I have Mr. Dr. Antoine Thurston, who I had the honor of meeting just a couple days ago alongside some of our awesome gospel members and our pastor who performed at this event, and you guys did absolutely amazing. So shout out to our worship team. You guys did really, 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 really awesome. So proud. I was like, that's my team, y'all. That's my team. Love it. So, Mr. Thurston, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic.
You're good, guys. And let us know that the sound is all good out there and you guys can hear us, all right? So, thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy that you're here tonight. We had the opportunity of listening to just a little of your testimony that day. Just a little bit of it. And that was really, really cool. So, we are going to get in it, very, very soon. So tell us a little bit about yourself, without giving us too much nuggets, because we're going to continue, but just give us a little intro of who is Antoine.
Well, I wasn't born in South Florida. I was born in Tacoma, Washington. My dad was military. But I've been raised in Deerfield Beach, Broward County, pretty much all my life. And went to Seneca Park, Crystal Lake, graduated Blanchard High School. Did a year at Florida A&M University, was in the Marching 100 of the Dollar. Then I have my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in theology. Also a life coach, certified Christian counselor at Harvard University, Bible, International Bible Institute, also Howard Junior. I've been ministering and preaching the gospel for almost a decade now. I love to work out, I love the gym, I love the beach.
Awesome.
I love my family and friends. I like to watch comedy. I like to laugh. I like jazz.
And actually, just before the show, he gave a little secret. He gave a little secret saying that he likes to sing. Excuse me, that he likes to sing. So I'm like, okay, well, what do you like to sing? What's your favorite song? I don't know. I'm like, well, we're gonna find out by the end of Yes with Yesse what the favorite song is, and maybe get a little singing. So we're gonna get into it very, very shortly. That's absolutely awesome, guys, and that's what it's all about, is getting to know each other. It's that inclusion and diversity, and just wait until you guys hear the story. It's really, really awesome. I'm going to see what we can do to work on some sound for us tonight, and we'll be right back with you guys. So I am going to leave you with one of my favorite songs in the whole wide world. They're all my favorite song, guys. Sorry, my favorite list, okay? And just to get us hyped up for the evening. And as we're doing that, do me a favor, share the broadcast, invite your friends, and let them know that we're on with a special guest tonight, okay? Let them know. Good evening, Denijay. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He
God is fighting for us. God is on our side. He has overcome. Yes, He has overcome. We will not be shaken. We will not be moved. Jesus, you are here, carrying our burdens, covering our shame. He has overcome. Yes, He has overcome. We will not be shaken. We will not be moved. Jesus, you are here. Oh, I will live. I will not die. The resurrection power of Christ alive in me, and I am free in Jesus' name. I will live. I will not die. I will declare and lift you high. Christ revealed, and I am healed in Jesus' name.
lucha por nosotros, a nuestro lado está, suya es la victoria, ha vencido ya, no nos detendremos, no nos moverá, Cristo estás aquí, lleva nuestras cargas, nos libra del mal, suya es la victoria, ha vencido ya, no nos detendremos, no nos moverá, Cristo estás aquí,
Hay poder en la sangre de Cristo. Absolutely. There's power in the blood. There's power in the blood. And speaking of power, there's so much power in ourself, right?
Yes.
I don't think we realize, and just based on what I do with the services for individuals with disabilities, we don't really realize how much power we have within that can help us be who we are meant to be, who God really has created us to be, from the inside out, And so when we were just talking, we're talking about overcoming mental barriers.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Overcoming mental barriers and how that can be so many things. That can be so many things. So I want to share tonight just really what that means when you think about overcoming mental barriers and how sometimes, especially when you're growing up, you might be if no one else around you notices that you're in trouble, that you're going through something, then it's really hard for you to stick up for yourself or stand up for yourself, defend yourself, if really there's no one around you to stick up for you, for lack of a better term. And then why is that? As adults we think about, okay, well why didn't they stand up for me, or why didn't they do X, Y, and Z, right? So what was your experience with that growing up? And I know it was from very early on, critical stage.
Yes, it was. It definitely was. When I was in middle school, I was on the back of the bus. With the back of the bus, we were going back home. I went to Crystal Lake Middle, and I laughed a little too long, a little too hard over the joke, and they started calling me names. They called me the monkey off of Aladdin, the movie, Abu. And so from that moment on in 6th grade, people started just calling me what the seniors called me, the 8th graders called me. Yes. And just called me Abu, and I always responded to it.
You responded to it.
Yeah, I responded. I didn't stick up for myself. I didn't defend myself. I didn't even crack back. I didn't even defend myself and say, don't call me that. But it just went on for 3 years.
Wow.
And other generations started calling me what the older generation called me, because they identified me, or re-identified me as that monkey. And so even at that moment when I was sitting at the back of the bus, I had a cousin sitting next to me that said nothing, had a sibling sitting in front of some of those that were bullying me. They didn't say anything either. So
those individuals didn't say anything to defend you, and then when we were talking, that went on for a couple of years.
Yeah, that was the first year. After that initial year, they went on to like high school. So even the ones sitting next to me went on to the next like high school, so they weren't there anymore, but the name was still there.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, that you didn't stick up for yourself at that moment?
At that moment in my life, I can truly say, I would say intimidation, because they were 8th graders. I was a freshman, basically I was a 6th grader. Lack of identity even in myself, lack of self-worth, and even, like I say, fear. Sometimes we are afraid to respond because we are afraid of the response of others.
We're afraid to respond because we are afraid of the response of others.
But you can't be afraid to defend yourself.
Right.
And even if you do defend yourself, you can't be afraid of how they respond.
And that all comes back to identity and the way that we identify ourselves.
Yes.
It's like we say, if we fall for nothing, or we'll fall for anything.
Yes.
Right? Because we haven't developed that sense of self-worth enough to where you could have responded like, no, that's not who I am. That's not a thing. Absolutely not. And perhaps redirected that behavior or that thing that was said about you, or to you rather. And so when I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, what about at home? How did your mom or your parents react to that?
Well, they really didn't know about it at all until like maybe my dad had to pick me up or something, and he heard one of the kids call me Abu. Say, Twan, what is that? What is that? What are they calling you? They say that's kind of like my nickname. He was like, huh, and my dad was like kind of taken back by it, that fact that I allowed somebody else to call me a different name. And so even later on in years, you're like, Twan, you won't, and then here's the thing about it, even my dad would say to me sometimes, Twan, you'll fight your cousin. And you'll fight your cousin, but you won't defend yourself against other people. Earlier in my life. And so, I wasn't afraid of my younger cousin, just about like a year younger than me. But it revealed you're afraid to fight for who you are in front of other people. And so what you're afraid of, you won't confront, you won't defend, you won't protect. If you're afraid of something, you won't protect yourself against it. But if you're afraid of it, you'll bow to it.
That's an interesting point. When you're afraid of something, you won't defend yourself, you won't confront it. And so when it's coming from someone it's like, oh, I know them, it's my cousin, it's my family member, whatever the case. But when it's somebody that you don't know, I think at that point we start doubting ourselves. Our mind starts playing with us like, are they right? Is that who I am? Are they, should I be listening to them? And so when you talk about, the mental barrier and really knowing who you are and whose you are, it comes to, knowing who you are, who you are in Christ and your self-esteem, to know that's not what I'm responding to.
Yes. And some of us, we have responded to other people's labels of us for so long, we forgot our own name. Ooh. We forgot our own name, we forgot our identity, and so we have become the monkeys. We have become the lizards. We've become the elephants. Some folk are in poverty, but they've taken on the label of poverty or their disability or their situation and circumstance, and now it has become their identity. And so either I can hold to the name that people give me, or I can hold to the name that God gives me. And so even when you look at how God transitioned Abraham, his name was Abram, was the name his father gave him. Abram means father, exalted father. But God took him out of that place, and then God changed his name. Then, and only then, did God give him Isaac. Isaac was the promise. And sometimes before God can really give you the promise, he has to change your name. And some of us, we're carrying the name of our parents and where we come from, but we're not carrying the name of God.
We're carrying our biological name given to us by our parents, but we're not carrying the name that God gave us. And so by not carrying that name that God gave you, are you carrying the mission?
Yes.
And the real life mission that he gave you? I can attest to that myself, where I used to think that disability was this terrible thing. Exactly. And I never really accepted it, and I didn't realize that. According to me, it was like, I was okay with the fact that I was born with spina bifida, when I really wasn't. When it really took, a lot of work, a lot of education, a lot of learning the Word of God and ministry to really make me realize, like, you've been living your life saying, oh, I can do everything. Oh, never say I can, and all these things. But have you really, really embrace the fact that you have a disability, and that in spite of that disability, in spite of that thing that makes you different, God has made you with a purpose and left you on this earth with a purpose. And that's very powerful when you get to that place.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll say this, I'm not an art person, but I've seen people that paint art, and to one person it's worth nothing. And you're like, how could that be that amount? Some people will pay millions and thousands of dollars for the same picture, but it's based on their perspective. And so when it don't matter how quote unquote the ugly the art is, it's never ugly to the right person.
It's never ugly to the right person.
Some people don't appreciate the art or the difference that we have, and we look at differences as a means of just throwing people away. But no, my difference makes me unique. I won't be able to reach the people I'm reaching now if I didn't go through what I went through.
That's exactly it.
So that disability came with a blessing.
Correct.
And so my pain talked to someone else's pain, but also my victory tells them how they can be victorious in that pain, in that victory, and in that sorrow.
How they can overcome.
Exactly.
This is the pain. This is what I went through. This is how I overcame it. And you can literally tell them the whole story.
Yes.
You can definitely tell them the whole story. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. And just talking about high school even, You know, it started so early.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to think that kids are and students are carrying this sense of anger, this sense of like carelessness to think that it's okay to talk to anybody like that in any kind of way, and then to get to ninth grade, and so, you know, it becomes continuous for the person that's receiving that sense of abuse. In a sense, it becomes something that really can follow you, you know, throughout your life, you know. So I know, like, through ninth grade and high school, you decided to step up for yourself at that point. And how was that like? What happened?
You know, when I got to ninth grade, I had changed a little bit. Actually, that summer going into ninth grade, that seventh grade year, I believe, my dad bought me a gym, some weights, bench press, dumbbells to lift weights to work out, and I had lost some weight. So my dad was instilling into me value, self-worth. I lost some weight and so forth. So by ninth grade, one of the guys that was calling me Abu when I was in middle school, he says it now, and now I respond. I respond now.
Now you respond to
the
Abu,
name,
which you didn't respond to.
I didn't respond to back then.
So why do you respond to that now?
My self-value went up. My esteem went up. My value went up. And so when you understand your value, you won't respond and bow to anything. And so what I said to the guy, I said, don't call me that. That's not my name. You know, at first when he said, I'm like, I need to go ahead and check this, because if I let this go now, he'll keep saying it. Right. And so many times we let things slip by, and we let people say things to us, or let people verbally abuse our identity, our name, our character, our spirit, our soul, our life, our body, our finances, our purpose. And we let people vandalize us, you know, and put their graffiti on our life. And we say, no, that's a violation of who I am. And you got to know who you are. When you start knowing who you are, you won't let people spray paint you.
When you start knowing who you are, you don't let people spray paint you and let you become graffiti.
Yes.
That's exactly. Interesting. Cool.
And so I responded, I said, don't call me that. And I said, call me that again, we're going to have to fight. And I called him some words like, I'm serious. And when we get serious about ourselves, people will understand, okay, this is no longer permissible. This is no longer allowed. And so when we stand up for ourselves, standing up for myself says I value myself, which is in the book of Genesis. When God says keep and work the garden, the word keep is a Hebrew word that's used for watching or protecting something. God says protect what I gave you, Adam. Protect it. Don't just work it, but protect it. So when we protect something, it says I value what I have.
And nobody is going to value you and protect you more than yourself.
Exactly.
And that is so important. But again, that comes with a self-worth that is developed over time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. And so, you know, that is it's up to us how far we are going to allow that mental barrier to take us.
Exactly.
Okay, that mental barrier of feeling less than, of not feeling good enough, of I can't do this or I can't do that, or they're better than me.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever is being poured into, who is pouring into you? Who is pouring into your cup? You know, we hear that all the time. You know, who is pouring into you? Whose voices are you listening to? Which voice are you listening to? What are those words? And that is so important. And so what has all of that taught you to get you to where you are today? What do you know, what did you get from all those experiences? Because you mentioned if you wouldn't have gone through those experiences, you wouldn't be where you are today. Yeah. And that's absolutely true. So what does that look like for you?
I wouldn't be where I am today because of those experiences. I say that because when you go through certain experiences, there's always a lesson. You either learn from it, like Rafiki,
or grow from it.
Like Rafiki with Lion King. You can learn from it, or you can duck from it. You got to learn from it. You can't run from it.
Right.
And like Simba, some of us are running from it instead of just facing it.
I like Simba though. I like Simba.
Yeah, Simba's cool. But even when we talk about Simba was running because he believed the lie.
Right.
And some of us are running in the opposite direction of purpose and destiny because the lie Scar told us when we were a kid or back then. And we got to stop running and start running to purpose. and so we can have what God has for us. But that those experiences taught me that everything people say to me isn't always true. And not only that, people project onto you what's really in them.
Rewind. Rewind on that one. That's true.
People will project onto you what's really in them. So if they have an insecurity or a malady, in order to make themselves feel better about themselves, they will project that first onto you.
Right.
And then I've even learned some people that are jealous of you will talk about you and try to discredit you or embarrass you because they have an insecurity and they're afraid of you. But it reminds me of Exodus. The Bible says the new Pharaoh was actually, the Egyptians were afraid of the Israelites. They were afraid that they would grow too strong and overpower them. And so because of fear, they put them in bondage. People sometimes respond out of fear. And it comes off physically as bullying and intimidation and abuse, but they have a fear on the inside. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Your root to what you're doing is out of fear. And so if you don't deal with the fears in yourself, you'll project that onto people as verbal abuse, aggression, bullying,
physical,
whatever it may be. And so that's something I have learned. And it has taught me you can't take everything personal, because you don't know what a person is going through on the inside of themselves that they have not solved, that they have not resolved.
Absolutely.
Or healed from.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that pops to mind is it was a sermon from T.D. Jakes. Pastor T.D. Jakes, he said, you can't expect people to give you what wasn't given to them.
Exactly.
The same way people will give you and pour into you in behaviors, whatever was given to them. And so it's important to know how do you redirect that? How do you redirect that behavior? When you're going through those situations, and make sure not to repeat, that it's not repeated into the next generation. Basically what happened to you, that it's not repeated, moving forward. And to just really be mindful of the aftermath of it and what effects it can leave in a person, like it did to you, right? That it became a long time, a life struggle, if you will. So tell me a little bit more what happened there after. I know moving forward in about 2008 you were Baker acted.
Yes. I was Baker acted, and I say the Baker Act was really, like I said, I even told a client of mine, this is the climax of everything that hasn't been dealt with in your life. And sometimes we see a person get Baker acted, or they do something, even a suicidal attempt or whatever it may be, something drastic. No, that's the climax. That's the avalanche. The rest of that stuff is the snow. It's just the little things that they never dealt with that led to the avalanche.
The big things.
And sometimes we look at the avalanche, something sparked it, but it was there. It was building up the whole time. It's been building up for years and years. They just never dealt with it. And so now it all comes out at once. You're like, what happened? No.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, they've been hiding it. And some of us, we suppress that stuff because we're afraid of what we're going to really look like. We're afraid of what we become. We're afraid of what we look like. We're afraid of dealing with the skeletons in the closet, the things we put under the bed. And one thing I'll say like this, some people, I put this in my second book, as a little boy, I didn't really clean my room. I would sometimes, just to make it look like my room was clean, I would put stuff under the bed. I would just cover it up. And some of us, we just cover stuff up. We never deal with it. And so we get a sense of satisfaction of just putting it under something, or even under religion and the Bible and a bunch of scriptures, but we never deal with the real issues. Because when you really got to clean your room, you have to, okay, is this junk, or do I need to keep it? Am I hoarding this? Is this beneficial? And so now you get a panoramic view of, okay, what's beneficial for me?
Right.
And sometimes cleaning up our minds and cleaning up our soul and becoming the best version of ourselves requires that we deal with the ugly places. And some people don't want to deal with the ugly places.
You just want to bury it under the rug. I remember I have a friend of mine that says, the junk in your trunk. Yeah. What's in your trunk? What are those emotions, those situations, those things, and we gotta definitely make it a point to make it okay to deal with those things, whatever that might be. Whatever it might be, whether you go to counseling, whether you go to a doctor, whether you have a pastoral counseling, going to church, but finding a way to deal with it so that we're not pushing it forward, into the next person, even the next person, the next generation. Yes, cleaning our minds and our spirit. It's not just physically. Yes, the hidden emotions, and it's interesting because even now, I'm 36, going on 21. I deal with things now that I didn't know were there. Those hidden things, those things that I hid them so well that it's not until very recently that they're coming. I'm like, oh, that's still there. So that's why it's so important to deal with those things, because then another thing that happens is that we tend to maybe lash out at the wrong people, and let go of those emotions on the wrong people that did absolutely nothing to you.
Exactly.
But they remind you of whatever happened, and so and that's not fair. So we really have to work with those things, at the level that they are, and just finding those resources to be able to do so, and as a society making it okay to do that.
Definitely. And one thing I can truly say as well is my counselor, Dr. Sandra Anderson, been preaching for almost a decade. She's the one that really got me into and pushed me into learning about trauma, the effects of trauma as a minister. So because of her, I'm a life coach now. I'm a certified Christian counselor, and I read books on it, and so I educated myself so I can better understand things and understand people and how the mind works and the brain works. And so when I start working with her, I started understanding, okay, that's trauma, but not just trauma in other people, but trauma in myself. And so even earlier this year, I saw something in myself that wasn't healthy, and it was in how I responded to an individual that I was interested in. And I blocked them and did all this stuff. And I said, hold on, why am I responding like this? Okay, something in me is offended. Something in me is unforgiving towards this individual. And so now I'm acting in a certain way. And so when the thing about it is, if we don't have self-awareness, we're not aware of ourselves, well, how can we be aware of other people?
That's true.
I think the most dangerous person is a person that's not even aware of their own emotions and their own thoughts.
Right.
And when you don't have self-awareness of how you responded to the situation, or what you give, or how you respond and what you're feeding, you can't be helped. You can't be recuperated. You can't even recover. No one can tell you anything. So when a person don't have self-awareness, or is not willing to accept how they think, what they think, it's dangerous. And then the thing about it, if you're not willing to accept it, trauma and pain and hurt and those unresolved issues distort your perception. It distorts what you see, how you see it. Somebody can say, I like that blue dress, but because of the unresolved issues within you, you're going to be offended. Oh, they were talking about my dress. No, that was a compliment, but you took it as an attack because you have not healed, because you haven't been set free, and you don't have self-awareness. You're not self-conscious of the distorted thinking. And so we have to come into self-awareness.
Correct. And we think we are, because I can attest to that. We think we're aware sometimes, and we're not. So something similar in my situation. I was never okay with either asking for help or receiving help. Like, I don't need help. I can do this myself. I can do it on my own. I can tie my own shoe. And I was very defensive about that. But I realized later on that it was because of childhood trauma, in a sense of me growing up with my disability and just the whole thing. And that's when I had to be like, you know what? It's okay for people to help you. Like, it's okay to ask for help. Just because people want to help you doesn't mean that you're less than, or that you can't do something. Like, I had to really process that and make it okay. So it's all about where it comes from, how it's delivered, how it's delivered to us, and then what we do with it.
And you can't help a person if they're not willing to acknowledge they need it. And even with ourselves, my counselor, when she was counseling, said, Antoine, you're doing what most people won't even do.
It's true.
Is you reached out and you acknowledge something within yourself wasn't functional or proper.
Right.
And so it's really part of that ego, that pride within us is, ain't nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. No, we all need help. We all need improvement. We all need continuous improvement.
Right.
You know, even doesn't matter if you're a bishop, apostle, prophet, whoever you may be, whatever title you have, that has nothing to do with it. We all need somebody to help us.
We can't do life alone, right?
Exactly.
You guys always
Exactly.
hear that. We can't do life alone. We're one. You know, we're one people. People need people, and that's absolutely true. We all need help. Absolutely, we all need help, and we all need help. And but again, we have to be okay with asking for the help and receiving the help.
Yes.
You know, if you're not okay with receiving the help or even acknowledge that you need help, nobody can help you. Nobody can help you. So I do hope this is helping someone tonight. That's why I think testimonials are very important, because you never know who is going through something similar to what they're listening to. So I really do hope so. It's been awesome so far. If you guys are out there listening, thank you so much for interacting and just commenting and being here with us tonight. Please share and invite New Season Gospel FM and let everybody know that we are on having an awesome conversation just on overcoming mental barriers. And if we realize once we overcome mental barrier, whatever that mental barrier is, everything else comes easier.
Yes.
I was gonna say easy, but nothing is easy, but everything else comes easier because it all starts here.
Exactly.
Whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. It all starts in the mind. It all starts how your mindset is, how you react to situations, how you perceive things. That's where it starts. So you know, healthy mind, that's my new personal one, okay? Healthy mind, healthy life.
Yes.
Healthy mind, healthy life for sure. And so, you know, so many nuggets that I hope that you guys took from tonight. But I want to ask you, what advice would you give the people? What advice would you give them? You know, your last few words. What would you tell them to just help them moving forward?
One, be intentional. Freedom costs. Bondage is hard, but so is freedom.
Absolutely.
They're both hard, but choose your heart.
Choose your heart.
You know, that's something a multimillionaire used to tell me when I had a previous business. He says, choose your heart. Everything has a challenge. Just like riding a bike. That was challenging, but once you mastered it, you didn't need the training wheels anymore.
It wasn't so hard anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't hard anymore. Everything starts hard. Even tying your shoelaces when you're a kid, that's hard. Walking when you're a baby is hard. But when you keep practicing something over and over and over, it becomes, like you said, easier. But some of us, we've never practiced self-awareness. We never practiced holding ourselves accountable and how we respond to people.
True.
We never practiced affirmations. We've never practiced a vision board. We never practiced changing our behavior and our thought patterns. So it's going to be hard in the beginning. But if you keep doing it and be intentional, even when you don't feel like it, you're going to see results.
Right.
And so I would say be intentional. Confront yourself. Confront yourself.
You know, one of the exercises that I did a long time ago in like a coaching session was looking at a mirror and looking at yourself in the mirror and just asking what you see in the mirror was probably the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. Continue.
Yeah, confronting.
Very hard.
It's easy to confront other people, but it's harder to confront yourself, because now I have to look me in the mirror, like you said. But then also we have to ask ourselves this question. This is in my book. I talk about what mirror are you looking in? Because when we were kids, I mentioned this in my book, in the circus, they used to have these mirrors that were slanted or crooked, and it distort the view. It will distort how you saw yourself, big, wide, or tall. And so we have to really ask ourselves a question. When we're looking at ourselves, what is our perception of ourselves? Are we being honest with ourselves? Are we being genuine with ourselves? Or are we just saying certain things to build our pride up? So when you confront you have to confront the real you, not the distorted you, not the celebrity you, not the you that has a lot of money, but the real you behind, where there's no makeup, where there are no friends, the you that nobody sees. The you at
that's a
1
tough
o'clock.
one.
Yeah, the you at 1 o'clock in the morning. The you where your friends aren't around, when you're not around your girlfriends, your boyfriends, you're not at church. The real authentic you. Because the real authentic you is who you really are. You know, and so many of us have different personalities. You know, and we're hiding behind success and other things, but we haven't dealt with really us. And so confront yourself, and then also freedom. Lastly, freedom requires responsibility and maintenance. This everything in life has a maintenance, has a cost. My car must be maintained. I got to get a haircut every so often to maintain it. I got to brush my teeth every morning. I got to wipe my face. I have to take a shower. I have to fill up my tank every so often. What? That's called maintenance. Freedom requires maintenance, meaning continuous work. You can't,
It's not a one and done. It's
exactly. And some people think because they see progress, they need to stop. No, that's when you need to keep going.
Yes.
You need to keep going. Even though you see progress, don't stop.
When you see progress, don't stop. And even when you don't see it, when you think you don't see it or you don't feel it, keep going.
Exactly.
I can remember when I first started Yes with Yesse, I'm like, you know, it was, you know, you focus on the numbers and you focus on, you know, who's watching or who's listening, and you know, and it was like I couldn't focus on that anymore. I had to focus on what I was doing, the value that I was bringing. You know, and I think that that's important for all of us to really focus on the value of what you're bringing, and the results will be there.
Yeah.
The results will come. And
you know, I think what you just said was so powerful is to continue and don't focus on the numbers. I remember I was at the gym and I wasn't going to lift heavy on the bench press. I was just kind of go light and just rep it out. And a bigger guy, a friend of mine, a good acquaintance of mine, he said, "Man, you need to pick up some weight." He said, "When you gonna pick up some weight?" I'm like, "Man, I don't feel like picking up nothing today." You know, and so him saying that struck a nerve. Like, you need to do it. You need to don't do the bare minimum.
Right.
Don't do the least. Do something that's gonna challenge you and make you stronger and make you better. And so even though he stopped looking at me, he was still in the vicinity, and I know he might be looking at me, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick this weight up. Sometimes you need people in your life that can look at you and say, "When you gonna put some weight on? When are you gonna do better?" They challenge you. They're not there to embarrass you. They're there to challenge you to do better. And some of us, we settle for a certain lifestyle, a certain mindset. And God will put people in your life that'll see what you're doing and say, "Hey, you can do so much better than that."
Accountability. They hold you accountable for what they know your full potential is. And what your goal in life is. You know, it's like sometimes you have to believe in someone's belief in you until your belief kicks in.
Exactly.
That's the way it is. They see it. They see the real, you know, your talents, your skills, your abilities, what you're capable of. So, you know, that's the people that have to keep us accountable.
Definitely. And one thing I've also learned about weightlifting is if I don't believe I can't lift that weight, I won't lift it. But when I believe and say, "We're going to lift this," I don't care if it's once.
I don't care how I do it.
We're going to pick this up. And in lifting it, the revelation in lifting it is not as heavy as I think. It's really not as heavy as you think. And sometimes we are so afraid to do something, we never do it. But if you do it, you'll realize it's not as hard as I thought it was. And some of us, we quit before we even start.
Oof.
We quit before we begin because we're so afraid of, this is too heavy, this is too much. What if it's not?
What if it's not? We're afraid to fail.
Yeah.
We're afraid to fail. But again, what if it's not? What if you win?
Yeah.
What if you are successful?
Yeah.
You know, what if you do change? What if you do change one life?
Exactly.
That's all it takes is just one person.
Exactly.
What if you can inspire one person? What if one person doesn't give up because of what they're hearing tonight?
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
So I think that at the end of the day, that's what we have to think about, is that final result of what we want to see to be the thing to empower us to keep going.
Yes.
And to never give up.
Definitely.
Because it's all about breaking those mental barriers
Exactly.
to know that we are able, that we can do it, that we're stronger together, that we're
Exactly.
one community. One.
Yeah.
Many different parts, right? Many different parts, but we are one.
Yes.
And so thank you so much, Antoine, for being with us tonight.
Likewise.
Very inspiring, and I hope and pray that you guys out there got some nuggets tonight out of this conversation. Absolutely awesome evening. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. It is Thursday, pre-Friday. So you know tomorrow is Fun Friday. Join us back tomorrow morning for prayer time in His presence at 6:30 a.m. and then right into the Pastor Steve show for Fun Friday. Fun Friday. I'll be on the other side of the screen just watching and interacting with you guys. Hopefully get some sleep. You guys think I can get some sleep? No, I don't think so either. But it's Fun Friday, guys, and then later on in the afternoon, come on back for prayer time with Sister Yesse for midday prayer at 12 p.m. Always an awesome time as well. And of course, I want to invite you guys to please support your number one gospel station and just do what you can to help us keep it going, keep it on the air, and help us to continue to impact lives. That's all we want to do, to bring people closer to God, to inspire, to educate, and it takes you guys listening to us to help us and to make sure that we stay on the air. So I am going to play just one last song for you guys to take us out this evening. Thank you so much for joining. Sister Marcia, thank you so much. Thank you for always being there. Sister Juliet, thank you so much. Sister Laurel and Sister Mina and everyone else that we can't see right now, but thank you so much for joining. And I will see you guys again, God willing, next Thursday on another episode of Yes with Yesse. Before that, of course, come on back on Sunday for church. We're here at New Season Worship Center, located at 4660 North University Drive at 11 a.m. for service. Don't want to miss it. And I'll be back. I shall be back. I shall be back for next week on another episode of Yes with Yesse. And to take us out, I am going to leave you guys with another one of my favorite songs. So I hope you guys enjoy. Have a blessed rest of your day. And see you guys tomorrow again for prayer. And then the Pastor Steve show alongside Pastor Henry for Fun Friday.
There's a name that can silence every fear. There's a love that embraces the heartache, the pain, and the tears. Through my faith and my doubting, I know one thing for sure. His word is unfailing, His promise secure. Don't know I'll stop yet. Everything will be alright. Whole world's in His hands. Your whole world's in His hands. In the darkness and the trials, He's faithful and He is true. The whole world's in His hands. You don't know I'll stop yet. Oh, oh, oh. Everything will be alright. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah. Father, you said everything gonna be alright, but my circumstances say I won't last through the night. I need your word to hold me now, need you to pull me through. I need a miracle, a breakthrough. I need you. You say you hold the whole universe in your hand, but my world's falling apart like it is made of sand. Am I small enough to slip through these cracks? Can you take my broken pieces and put them back? Give me faith, you believe you're on my side. Open my eyes to see you working in my life. Let the past remind me you never fail, and tell my soul it is well. Oh, you don't know I'll stop yet. Everything will be alright. The whole world's in His hands. Your whole world's in His hands. In the darkness, in the trials, He's faithful and He's true. Your whole world's in His hands. You don't know I'll stop yet. Oh, oh, oh. Everything will be alright. Oh, oh, oh. So I'll start yet. Oh, oh, oh. Everything will be alright. Oh, oh, oh.
Yo, Padre, te confieso a corazón abierto que todo es muy incierto en este desierto. Mi vulnerabilidad está al descubierto. Siento que mi barca está muy lejos de su puerto. ¿Por qué será que ya no sale el sol en mis días? ¿Por qué mis noches son tan frías? ¿Por qué será que siento que me falta algo? ¿Por qué este camino gris se siente tan largo? Sé que estás sobrando aunque no te sienta. Sé que estás sobrando aunque no te vea. Sé que voy a salir de esta odisea. Sé que voy a ganar esta pelea. Sé que va a cesar esta marea temporaria. Que en ti yo viviré una vida extraordinaria. Que aunque no pueda entender, me consuela saber que todo
Yo sé que